Hi there, good afternoon, and I am extremely sorry for the delay. There were some technical issues that held me back, but I thank you immensely for your patience, for being here with me and waiting for this particular session. So in this session, you and I will sit down and discuss all things related to the NMAT. So I'm sure you have a lot of questions in your mind about this session right now, but let us take all of them up one by one, and hopefully by the end of this session, I'd be able to give you a lot of clarity. Okay, so first things first, what exactly is NMAT? For those of you who may not know, NMAT is this exam that is known as NMIMS Management Aptitude Test. So there is this fabulous college called NMIMS. It used to conduct its own entrance exam, but then over the period of years, there have been changes. A new testing agency has been brought in, and that has kind of made it a national level exam, which is whose scores are used by quite a few other colleges as well now. So that's what NMAT is essentially all about. And then, now, why should you even sit for NMAT? So there are plenty of exams that happen in our country. We do not go ahead and write all of those exams. So why should we actually go ahead and appear for the NMAT? Well, the reason is the colleges. At the end of the day, we apply to any test because we want to get into the college that the test opens that door to. And there are a lot of good colleges that can be had through NMAT. For instance, look at this. NMIMS, okay, Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies. It happens to have multiple campuses. So in Mumbai, Bangalore and Hyderabad. Apart from that, there are almost 50 more colleges that you can apply to through this particular exam. One of them is SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. So SP Jain takes the score of the CAT. It also uses the score of the NMAT. Then KJ Somaya in Mumbai. I think quite a few of us may have heard of Indian School of Business, ISB. Now, their flagship course is essentially based on your GMAT score, the final call, but they happen to have this course called AMPBA, which is Advanced Management Program in Business Analytics. So that is a program that you can definitely apply to with the help of this particular exam. So that is there. Then you have XIM University, and then you have TAPMI, and not only that, see, there is this agency that goes on to conduct the GMAT exam. Okay, that agency is called GMAC. GMAC is the one that goes ahead and conducts this exam, which basically means that there are a lot of international colleges too that have started using this particular score. One of those colleges is Gordon Institute of Business Science in South Africa, and in fact there are 10 more colleges of South Africa that you can apply to with the help of this particular exam, right? And then Asian Institute of Management, Manila, Philippines is another absolutely amazing college that you can seek admission to. And similarly in Philippines too, there are 7 more colleges that you can apply to with the help of your NMAT score. Similarly, there are in fact 6 colleges even in Nigeria that become available to you through NMAT. So plenty of colleges that you can definitely go ahead and target. And if you want to get into any of these colleges, it is imperative, it is obvious that you would want to write the NMAT. Okay, and then another very important reason is, why are we talking about it now? See, you are somebody who is preparing for the CAT, isn't it? And that is what you're focusing on. So why do you need to talk about NMAT straight away? Well, there are multiple reasons that I can go ahead and cite, starting with one very obvious one, and that is, it is the first exam of the season. So normally we do focus on the CAT, and CAT in all likelihood, okay, tentatively, it is going to happen on 26th of November this year. So if you're preparing for CAT, you kind of think of 26th November as your deadline. But the truth is, NMAT actually can happen sooner for you. If I go by last year, we don't have the dates for this year, but going by last year, it was a self-scheduling exam basically, which means that you decide which date you want to write the exam on. So there was a 70-day test window. Within those 70 days, you could have chosen to write that exam on any of those days, provided there was this availability of seats. And the window last year was beginning from 10th of October and going all the way to 19th of December. So a fairly longish window. As a result, consequently, chances are that you would perhaps be appearing for it even before the CAT. And the truth is, when you focus a lot on the CAT, that's an absolutely great thing. But then all of these other exams, exams like NMAT, SNAP, IFT, they happen to have some additional things that you need to prepare. And if you do not start today, chances are that you may not be able to take care of those additional things. But then there is a saving grace as well. You know what that is? NMAT is an exam that you can attempt thrice in an academic session. So you can actually sit for this exam 3 times. The first attempt and then 2 retakes are allowed, provided you pay for it. Last year it was fairly expensive, 2,800 rupees for every retake. And they essentially take the best of the 3 score into consideration. So, you know, there are times when a particular day may not work in your favor. This possibility of retake definitely increases the chances in your favor. So Sonali, thank you guys. But then I hope I have answered the question about colleges. And Pashwanath, I am going to talk about cutoffs later as well. So that's the reason. And then it is different from these other exams that you're going to write, and you need to cover those differences. So what are those differences really? How is NMAT different from some of these other exams that you may plan to write? Any idea? Anybody who has gone ahead and looked at NMAT? Or maybe some of you could also have attempted it. Who knows? So any chances? Anybody? Let's go ahead and see. Let's look at the differences. So number 1, and perhaps the most important one for us, it is a computer adaptive test. Now, what does it really mean? So there are these normal exams that we appear for. So when you write the CAT, for example, all the persons, every single aspirant in your time slot is getting the exact same set of questions. Their order may change. What is question number 1 for you may not be question number 1 for me in that slot. But all of us are going to go through the exact same questions, and as a result, our scores in a particular slot reflect the true actual rank. Computer adaptive tests are a little different. So what does the adaptive word here mean? Let us say that you have a question on your screen. Now you can get this question wrong. You can get this question right. Now if you get this question wrong, the testing engine thinks that, oh, this appeared too difficult for you. So the next question that you get will be an easier question. But then that easier question will also carry, just to keep it simple, lower marks, right? And if you get, so once again, you can get this wrong, you can get this right. If you get this wrong, the difficulty level will go down further. You would again get an easier question, but then it will also carry lower marks. On the other hand, when you get it right, the next question that you get is tougher, but then it also carries higher marks. So basically, you keep getting the questions right and the difficulty level keeps increasing until you reach a level that the testing engine thinks is your true level, or is a true snapshot of your abilities vis-a-vis those particular areas. So as a result, there is no universal level of difficulty. So you notice you've looked at our analyses of various exams, okay, IFT, CAT, SNAP, CMAT, whatever, and we tell you whether the paper was easy or difficult in a given slot. In a computer adaptive test, that's impossible to say. The difficulty level of the exam is determined by your performance in each one of these questions, and because it is adaptive, you cannot skip questions. So unlike the other exams where I can say that, okay, hey, if you're stuck on a question, just move on. You can come back to it later, mark it for review. But here, your response to that question is going to determine the difficulty level of the next question. So it's impossible for you to skip any of those questions. And as a result, there is no overt negative marking. Okay, so a mistake does not mean that you would be charged negative marks or that you'd be deducted some marks. But then I'm saying there is no overt negative marking. Why? Because if you get a question wrong, the next question that you're going to get is going to be easier and it will carry lower marks. And as a result, your percentile is likely to be lower. Let's take a question from Resol Gaming. You are in second year BCA. Should I give CAT 23 or you want to write it 24? So basically, you are eligible for the CAT and all of these other Indian B school exams if you are a graduate or if you are in final year of your graduation. So somebody who is in second year now, if you've entered your second year now, you're not even eligible for writing the CAT this year, so you won't even have a possibility. So there used to be a time, you know, a decade ago, 10 years, 15 years ago, people like us, when we were preparing, there were some people who decided to apply to these exams early. Okay. But then the trouble was, you could have applied to these early, but back then it was okay. Nowadays the trouble is that, you know, they collect your biometrics. And therefore, if you're not eligible and you are appearing with your biometrics go in system, that's equivalent to cheating. So please don't think of doing that. Instead, wait for when you're eligible. And until then, if you do really want to experience this exam, we keep on conducting our All India mock CATs. Some of them are free. You can definitely attend those and benefit. Right? So, okay. So I hope education up. If you have any question, please go ahead and share it, and I'll try my best to answer that. So computer adaptive test. Then there are 3 sections in this particular exam, just like the CAT, isn't it? So here it is not exactly different, but the time that is given to every section and the number of questions that you have, they are obviously different. So here are the 3 sections and an overview of the NMAT for you. There you go. So you have a section on English, which in NMAT is known as language skills. You are supposed to answer 36 questions in just 28 minutes. Then logical reasoning, another set of 36 questions, but now you're going to get 40 minutes. And in Quant, and that section also includes DI, by the way, the time allotted to you goes up a little more, and you are supposed to have 52 minutes for that section. So the overall scenario is 108 questions in 120 minutes divided across these 3 sections. But unlike some of these other exams, say when we appear for the CAT, the first section is VARC. The next one is DI and LR. And the third one is Quant, and you cannot do anything about it. That is the order in which the questions are going to appear, and that is the order in which you are supposed to attempt these as well. Fair enough? That works? However, in the NMAT, that is not the case. At the beginning of the exam, you can decide the order in which you want all of these to appear. You can dictate your own preference for the order basically. So for example, I would probably not change it. I'm good at English. I prefer starting with English. But that said, some of us may have different strengths. So we normally say that we would like to start with an area of strength, something that we are really very comfortable with, and we don't want to end with something that we are weak at. Okay, so consequently, I'd say that this time around, because you can decide on that order, you are going to be in a better position. So that is there. Then moving on, overall difficulty level, if I look at it for the NMAT, is easier than the CAT. So you talk about English, DI, Logic, Quant, usually the difficulty level is lower, although if you keep getting the questions right, you are obviously going to encounter questions which are relatively tougher. Another great thing is that you don't have to wait for the result. The moment you hit submit, you can check your score immediately thereafter, and even the official scorecard is released within 2 days, within 48 hours. So the whole idea behind this is that both of these things help you take a call on whether you want to retake the exam or not. Imagine if the result comes out after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, and then deciding, oh, that okay, I think I would like to go ahead with a retake. You can take that call very soon and start preparing again very soon, especially after experiencing the exam once. Right? So Sonali, I hope that addresses your question. Education, yeah, that is something that worries a lot of us, right? Our academic background and our performance, will that be a hindrance? No, I don't think so. You decent. So when you say 60, 63, the scores are not bad. They're okay. It just means that you need to outshine others when it comes to your CAT and your VAT and your interview. Just make sure that you go all out and do your best there. That's what we can focus on. So NMAT differences done. Let us dive into the individual sections. So beginning with language skills. So there you go. So NMAT gives you a lot of vocabulary based questions. So what kind of questions? Synonyms, antonyms, analogies, fill in the blank, cloze tests, idioms. So all of these. So what does that tell us? In case you are not taking vocabulary seriously, please make sure that you do something about vocabulary every day. So learn new words every day. So I typically advise that you take out around 20 minutes. If you keep doing that, you would end up adding close to 4,000 or 5,000 words to your kitty, maybe even more. And that is going to help you. Pashwanath, yes. Your NMAT score is basically the best of the 3. So you can choose to send that score to the exam, provided the last dates for that particular college, sorry, I said exam, for that to the college, provided the last date for applying to that college is still available. Okay. So please make sure that you take your vocabulary bit seriously. You go on to learn new words every day. You go ahead and practice all of these different question varieties, and it'll help you not only in the NMAT, it'll help you in IFT a lot, SNAP a lot. Remember, IFT had 19 vocabulary based questions this year around. So pays to put in that effort. Then you get a lot of grammar questions, and as usual, they're mostly identifying the errors, some sentence correction questions, and the focus is particularly on things like tenses, parts of speech, phrasal verbs, prepositions, right? So these are going to be the areas of focus. So yes, grammar is another area that you now need to work on. And finally, just like the CAT, NMAT also happens to have VARC, which essentially gives you some passages along with some paragraph based questions like para jumbles, odd one out, para summary, more or less similar to the CAT here. But because it happens to have vocab and grammar, and because a lot of people who stay focused on the CAT miss out on working on vocab and grammar, they tend to underperform in this exam, even when they were amazing, even when they were absolutely awesome. Okay, So do keep that in mind. Right? A question or two then. Oh, my target year is 24. When should you start preparing? The right answer to when should you start preparing is today. Guys, it is never too early to start your preparation. It is never too late. But pace it in such a way that you reach your peak in around September, October next year and not too soon. Okay? But when you start early, you can give a lot of attention to building skills. You can focus a lot on acquiring or becoming better at areas like vocabulary and grammar and writing and logic. You can also choose to focus a little more on building a stronger profile for the college overall. Education Up, I thought I'd answered your question. You can definitely get in. And now you're saying what percentile? I'm saying do your best. So you still want my number? Okay, here is that number, 99.7 percentile and above. That's what you are supposed to be targeting. Right? Appears a little tough to you? But then I say, yaar, we cannot really customize. Imagine if I say 99 percentile, can you prepare in such a way that you stop at 99 percentile? Can that happen? No. We wouldn't know what kind of preparation leads to what kind of percentiles, and there are days when we perform well, there are days when we fail to perform that great. So of course you need to still go ahead and work hard. Yeah. So that's about language skills. Okay, here is the next one, logical reasoning. So you can divide logical reasoning of NMAT into two broad areas. In the CAT, most of your reasoning is essentially non-verbal or logical reasoning. But in the NMAT section, you get a lot of questions that are based on verbal reasoning. So what kind of questions? There are these questions that are statement and argument based, statement and assumption based, statement and inference based. So in these questions, you're typically given a statement or an argument and you're supposed to conclude something on the basis of that, or figure out the assumptions there, or at times even figure out strong or weak arguments. Besides, there are questions on syllogisms, some questions, one or two here and there on decision making. There are questions that test your decision making skills in a slightly different way, where they ask you for course of action. And then of course we have a lot of critical reasoning questions. So all that I'd suggest for verbal reasoning is that you attend our classes, work with the teacher, go through these areas and then go ahead and master them. And thereafter you also happen to have this analytical reasoning or non-verbal reasoning part, where these typical questions like linear and circular arrangements, classification and syllogisms, blood relations, coding and decoding. Then you have these series and direction questions, matrix type questions, input output questions. So you realize we get this in the CAT. We also tend to get these and these in the CAT a lot. So you'd be going through these for the CAT as well, but start focusing on these other areas as well if you want to perform better at NMAT. And how can you go ahead and start performing better? How would you do that? So specifically for reasoning, I'd say learn to read the questions carefully. And then when it comes to LR, eventually, I think for the first 4 odd weeks, you can take it easy, but eventually you want to solve these questions with a timer. Just check how much time you take to solve a particular set. So that understanding will help you pace yourself in the exam better. So just take your time, practice every day. And while going through these questions, pay special attention to words like all, some or none. Look for words like only, other than, unless, except. So these are the kind of things that people at times miss and therefore they struggle. So hopefully you won't be in that boat. Okay. So after analytical reasoning, let us go ahead and get into the next section, which is Quant. So you obviously get a lot of questions based on arithmetic, where these are the chapters that you need to focus on. There are some questions from other areas too, but then these are the chapters that contribute a bulk of questions. So that's your syllabus for the arithmetic part of NMAT Quant. Education Up says 95. I think I shared my reason. Your job is to go ahead and do your best. Imagine if you're capable of getting 100 percentile, would you stop at 95 because that is enough? We wouldn't want that to happen, right? Although I would agree with you, you can get calls from even some of the best colleges at around 98 percentile plus. So you can look at that too. Okay, then algebra, my enemy from my school days. So equations, inequalities, logarithms, linear equations, quadratic equations, absolute values, and then of course some other areas too. So that's for algebra. Then you have a lot of geometry and mensuration, and you also happen to have a lot of modern math. So that's about the math part of it. Now this section also includes data interpretation, which typically gives you line graphs, pie charts, bar charts and tables. So what do you want to do? Number one, for data interpretation part, look at these pictorial representations of data every day, develop a certain level of comfort, focus on your calculation skills. And when it comes specifically to quant, apart from calculations, if you are not very comfortable with quant, I think you need to go ahead and brush up your fundamentals from your school days. If you're a reasonable student, just pick up 10th, 11th and 12th math books, go through them again. In case you are a little more uncomfortable than that, then instead of starting at 10th, you can perhaps take a couple of steps below and then start from there. So maybe pick up 7th standard NCERT, 8th standard NCERT and take it up from there. So, and if I look at the last few years of NMAT, I would say that you need to focus more on topics like geometry, profit and loss, time, speed, distance, successive percentages, and of course ratio and proportion. They are going to be very useful. And you know that we have a topic test, a section wise quiz on our app every day. You can go ahead and practice these things there as well. Okay, so that should help. So that's basically about the kind of exam that you get and the kind of effort that you are supposed to be putting in. And typically, if I look at the cutoffs, most of us apply to this particular college so that we can get into Narsi Monji. So these are the cutoffs for Narsi Monji. So for the Mumbai campus, you are expected to have a score of around 232. For Bangalore, 224. For Hyderabad, there is around 200 and it's around 200. So this is what it corresponds to in percentile terms. So you definitely are targeting a score of 99 percentile plus, or at least a 98 percentile plus if you want to get into NM. For some of those other colleges, of course, the cutoffs are going to be lower, right? So to be on the safer side, I'd say the other colleges would, some of the better ones, can accept you at around 95, 96 percentile. And I've also mentioned the tentative fees in this particular list. Okay, so you know the kind of ROI that you can expect from this particular exam. And then the overall cutoff aside, these colleges also happen to have a sectional cutoff. So it is not that you can avoid one section altogether and still get through. So these are the sectional cutoffs on your screen. Please make sure that you do pay attention to this as well. And then just to give you a recap of the strategy, I've already told you what you're supposed to do for vocabulary and grammar and DI, quant, etc. But just to give a recap, you need to customize your test taking strategy for the NMAT. Now, why do you need to customize it? You need to customize it because it is different from the other exams. Remember, it is adaptive. You cannot skip. You can also determine the sequence of the various sections. So you need to be aware of those strengths. So make sure that you think of all those things through while attempting the NMAT mocks. Then right from today onwards, please start focusing on the new areas. So you notice within English you have vocabulary and grammar. Within logic there are a lot of analytical reasoning questions that do not get asked in the CAT. Things like blood relations and directions. So you would like to accommodate those things as well. Then please make sure that you sit for and analyze your performance in the NMAT mock exams that are conducted. Once you analyze the mock, it will tell you about your strengths and your weaknesses. So once you figure that out, you can go ahead and work on your areas of discomfort. And if you're working with us here at BYJU'S, everything will essentially be taken care of. But if you are preparing on your own, you can refer to this official guide published by GMAC. It is called NMAT by GMAC, and that can also give you some very valuable pointers. Okay, Pratham has a question. I am in BBA 6th SEM. Okay, Pratham, actually yes. Since you are in the final year now, you are eligible for CAT 23. So do appear for CAT 23. Come on. Rasol, we do take a lot of high quality sessions at this particular session where the focus is on giving you information and giving you a lot of practice. But apart from that, you also happen to have a very exhaustive, very detailed course. I'll tell you more about it in a little while. But before that, here is a thought for you. When the sun comes up, you'd better be running. So for our preparation, the whole idea is just wake up every day, go ahead and give it your best, as if your life depends on that. And I'm sure if you do that, you definitely sail through each one of these exams. Okay, if you found this session useful, don't forget to like it. And if you want to be, these are just some of our success stories here. We have produced a lot of winners last year. You can also be one of those by working through us, and that can happen through our exhaustive CAT 23 program. So you notice I want to focus on this part today. 75 plus mocks. So a lot of these are of course mock CATs, but then a lot of these are also OMATs, other management entrance test mocks. So you'd get a very healthy number, right? Pratham, once you get in, then all of these things will not matter. But otherwise, yes, if there is a gap between your graduation, between the end of your graduation and start of your MBA, if there is a gap in between, then that's a gap, of course. Okay. And in order to make it easier for you to join our course, we are conducting a scholarship test on 28th of May. Okay, so that's when our next scholarship test is. You can make the best use of it and get up to 90% scholarship. Besides, there are a lot of other sessions that we are conducting. So there is a session happening on 21st of May, which will give you a 6-month strategy to prepare for CAT 23. An absolutely high impact, much loved session by all our students, and it will be taken by Gautam Baba. And you can also, if you want to start practicing, you can head over to the app where we upload a daily section wise quiz for you, and that can help you get a leg up on your preparation. Additionally, we are running this series on YouTube at this very channel called 500 Most Expected CAT Questions. In fact, I'd be taking a session for that series tomorrow at 12, where we go through the kind of questions that CAT has been asking in the last 2-3 years, the most recent times. So you can practice those things with us on this very channel. And that's it from me today. If you enjoyed working with me, do like it. And if you're new to the channel, give it a subscribe and press the bell icon so that you do not miss out on even a single session that we conduct for you. Okay, so that's it from me today. I look forward to meeting you guys once again on this channel tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. See you soon.